I got it. I'm like a Roomba. Welcome to Mythical Kitchen, where a dream is a food your heart makes. All right, so Wendy's CEO has said that the Baconator was invented with 18 to 34-year-olds in mind, and when my 42-year-old boss, Rhett McLaughlin, ate this Wendy's Baconator lasagna, he said,
let me tell you, I've never felt more like a 34-year-old than I do right now.
But I want everybody out there to make this lasagna. I want this lasagna to bridge the gap between generations with cheesy, bacony, inclusivity, goodness of inclusions. And if you're following along at home, we've broken the recipe down into 3 easy steps, and you can snag the time codes right there. We also got a full written description down in the recipe, but you can also find a full written recipe down in the description below. You can also check out the latest episode of our podcast, A Hot Dog is a Sandwich, that just dropped yesterday. Tune in every Wednesday wherever you get your podcasts. Let's get cooking. All right, so now we're making the fresh lasagna noodles for the Baconator lasagna. Now, let's diagram out this dish, right? So the Baconator, it is a very classic flavor. It is a ton of beef, it's a ton of bacon. It's not like a ton of buns, it's kind of just like one. And then there's American cheese on it. So literally, we're going with the flavors of beef and bacon and American cheese. So now we have to infuse fresh lasagna noodles with American cheese, which to my knowledge, has anyone done this before? Trevor, well, yeah, Trevor, you did it, but you did it on Will It Lasagna, because you... Also, I'm not dead. Trevor did the food for Will It Lasagna because, like, I don't know, things are busy, and also, like, we give people opportunities to shine. And a bunch of people in the YouTube comments, one person said I got in a car crash. I got DMs from people that were like, oh my God, are you okay? I heard. Anyways, we're infusing these lasagna noodles with American cheese, which I'm very excited about. That's a little bit of cheddar powder that's going into the flour, and now we're gonna whisk up the eggs. We have a couple slices of American cheese that have been melted down with milk right there. That's gonna provide some additional moisture. Some people on fresh pasta, they go just egg and flour. I actually like going with a mixture of egg and water. And then you know what? I'm gonna be a little crazy today. I'm gonna add the milky American cheese liquid, which is, what a strange color. And I'm gonna add that to our egg mixture. Get all of our liquid in one place, and then we're gonna do the classic handmade pasta well method. Anyway, so what we're doing is we're taking a fork and we're just gonna build a well in the middle. You want the walls to hold like the walls at Helm's Keep? Helm's Deep, God! Oh, I almost made a correct Lord of the Rings reference. Love me some Vigo, though. Anyways, what we're gonna do is we're gonna take our egg and our cheesy mixture, we're just gonna pour it in the middle, and then we're gonna use a fork to gradually incorporate the flour from outside in. But you honestly can just throw this into a food processor and you will get the same result. Apologies to all the Italian grandmas. The show's big with Italian grandmas. They're the ones that buy all the hats. This well is holding up pretty well. As I destroy it, sound the Horn of Gondor. It's a reference. There we go. You know what? I like the movies, but I'm watching it for the hot elves. Like, I like that one sexy chick with the bow. She's hot. You know. He's so hot. You thought you were gonna get lasagna lessons. Nope, we're talking sexy elves today. All right, sort of start mashing at it. Get your hands in there. There we go. And so you're looking for this to kind of become a shaggy dough, too dry, and your pasta won't go through the pasta maker without cracking. As you knead it, you'll see it'll probably feel a little bit wetter, and then you can just add some more flour, kind of keep smashing it with the heel of your hand right there. This isn't a palm heel strike, this is more of a palm heel mash. This is like, after you get your enemy on the ground, you kind of just like, mash the heels of your palm in their face. That's one of my favorite things about MMA is a lot of it just looks like how like a toddler would fight. Just kind of get on top, which I respect. Actually though, if I were to get into a fight, first move, get butt naked. I get butt naked, I flop on my back, I raise my legs, and I say, get in my guard, bro. And no one knows what to do. This dough's looking pretty good. You're gonna palm heel mash it. Give it a couple strikes just to be sure. Then I'm gonna wrap it up in plastic wrap and get this into the fridge. And then the dough is sort of going to set up. The flour is gonna get all nice and hydrated from all the American cheese. Yeah, we put a bunch of American cheese in here. That's pretty crazy. And then we are good to roll it out and get it into our pasta maker. And we wanna get very thin lasagna sheets, able to make our lasagna, which is French for whale's womb. We have our dough out of the fridge. You see, it's got, wow, what a gorgeous color. And no, this is not similar to the Cheez-It pasta dough that we made 5 months ago. Stop saying that. So, this is pasta dough. And we have one of my many nemeses in the kitchen. I have an incredibly combative relationship with all of my kitchen appliances, which is why I try and use toddler combat on them. What I'm gonna do with the dough is I'm just gonna pinch off a little nubbin, and then I'm gonna form it into a square, and then we're gonna start feeding the square into the pasta dough, and we're gonna gradually roll it out until it's a lasagna noodle. Making lasagna by hand it's like a really fun process, but it is like really an all-day process. If you wanna do it proper, we're showing you how to do it proper, but there are shortcuts, honestly. If you just buy pre-made lasagna noodles, you can get the stuff that you ain't even gotta cook. So we're gonna take the fresh dough, and we're gonna start feeding it through the pasta maker. So you wanna start with your pasta maker on thicker, and then gradually get thinner. There we go. So we're gonna run it through twice on this thickness. Yeah. Okay, so now I'm gonna increase the thinness or decrease the thickness. Boom, science! Every time I hear the word thickness, I just think of Disturbed. Always feed your pasta in vertically. There we go. Don't put your fingers in the holes. All right, here we go. This is the thickness I'm looking for. I can see my fingers through the lasagna noodles, which is really freaking awesome. If you want to square off your lasagna noodles, you absolutely can. I might do this just so it fits in the pan better. I'm working with a 13x9 lasagna pan. But honestly, with like the overlapping edges, you don't need to, go super crazy with trying to get them straight like that. And I'm just gonna keep doing this like 35 times. Thinking about that sexy elf chick. Now we're making the base sauce for lasagna. I'm calling this a Baconator Bolognese, a Bolognese-nator. We're gonna take a lot of bacon. We got like, I don't know, that's like a whole pack, 12 ounces of bacon in there. Woo-hoo-hoo. We're gonna get it rendering in a pan. Anytime I'm cooking with bacon, I always like to start with the bacon because then you're rendering the fat out of the bacon. You don't have to add any supplemental oil because you're getting all that bacon fat. And after that bacon fat starts rendering, we're gonna add some beef and then other things. We're really trying to marry the flavors of Baconator and Bolognese here. What you could do, I thought this was a conspiracy theory that Wendy's uses old burgers in their chili, but it's not. Like Wendy's chili is made from old burgers, which is actually really cool because they're decreasing any amount of food waste and it's all like up to health codes because they're kept at a certain temperature throughout the day. You could take about 5 Baconators, chop them up, and make a bolognese from that in the style of Wendy's chili, just like the Sardinian grandmothers do. Sardinian grandmothers invented Wendy's chili, don't you know? Baconator has like a really simple flavor profile. There's not a ton going on into it, but there are certain things. Ketchup and mayonnaise is a big part of it. I have not put mayonnaise into a lasagna before, and I don't intend to do it today, shockingly. But as far as like the ketchup goes, I feel like we can sort of get that profile just by making this a little bit sweeter than you would think. And we also have all that salty bacon going in there, so it's really gonna counter. So we're gonna add a little bit of sugar with that tomato paste to really kind of give it that ketchup-y aroma. And also, I feel like if I added ketchup to my bolognese, which to be clear, I want to do, I feel like the Sardinian grandmothers would stop buying the hats. This bacon is looking nice and rendered. We got a lot of liquid fat in that pot. So what I'm gonna do now is I'm taking some beef. It's what's for beef. So we got our beef going in there. I'm using a pretty lean beef because we have all that fat from the bacon. We don't want this to be too greasy. So we're just gonna start getting that beef browning in there. And as always, whenever you add meat to a pot, I like to season it with salt because that is just gonna make it more saltier. So I'm just gonna add garlic and onion. That's something very classic in a lot of bolognese, right? You're gonna get a lot of those Italian flavors. And I'm just gonna, no, I got it. I got it. I'm like a Roomba. So now we got our onions and our garlic working in there. Now we're gonna start seasoning it up. Add any green flecks you want. Most of the green flecks in your pantry kind of taste the same, right? If it's oregano, if it's parsley, if it's basil, it doesn't matter. Green flecks make your food taste better. So this is probably what? Marjoram? Bro, I do love marjoram. But that literally could be anything, and I'm gonna add some thyme in there. We're gonna get that going, a little bit of black pepper, and then tomato paste is great because you're just adding concentrated tomatoes in there, and that's actually going to decrease the moisture, because if you think about it, you're just adding to the ratio of like tomato pulp to water. And then we are going to pour in our tomatoes in the microwave. Typically a bolognese doesn't have this much tomato in it. Typically a bolognese is not modeled after a Wendy's hamburger. Okay, we got that going, and then I'm gonna add a little bit of chicken stock. This is basically just to offset for the amount that this is going to reduce, because we do want this to be relatively thick. We're not gonna cook our lasagna noodles, which means we do need some moisture in that sauce. So I'm basically adding the chicken stock there because I wanna let this reduce for about 3 hours, and so that chicken stock that we added is going to bolster it. And instead of adding water, when that evaporates out, you're just gonna get that pow! Punch of umami right in there. Bunch of umami is one of those words that like you don't say, just say flavor. Flavor, it's gonna taste good. Umami. Umami. So I know what you're thinking, Josh, you have been talking about Sardinia all day, but isn't the most famous Sardinian lasagna made with pane carasau, colloquially known as paper bread? That is correct, but we are modeling this after lasagna bolognese, which does not have ricotta, ain't got no ricotta cheese. But we are modeling this after lasagna bolognese, of course, in the city of Bologna, that has bechamel instead of the American lasagna, which typically has ricotta. But again, shout out, we'll make the pane carasau later. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna start making our bechamel, and we're gonna do an American cheese infused bechamel to really sell all that Baconator flavor. So what we're doing, we're just gonna melt butter down right now. We got the pan on about medium heat, and I'm going to add my flour to it. We're creating what's called a roux. Fast forward if you've seen me do this before. I like white creamy sauces. Let me live. When the foam starts, you know that is when the flour is actually cooking into the butter, because you cannot cook the flour enough, and then you end up with just like a kind of chalky, crappy bechamel. So now I'm gonna add about half that milk. I like to add a little bit of milk to really let it come together, and then you can kind of see it thickening, and then you gradually add it later on all the way up. When I make bechamels, what I typically do is I start with a silicone spatula. That way I can scrape out all of the flour from the crevasses, and then I'll switch to a whisk so I can really break up that flour, try and get any lumps out of it. But you do want to make the base sauce a little bit thinner on this because you're adding adding all this American cheese, which does not contain plastic. It merely acts as plastic inside of a recipe and really kind of gums it up and gets it nice and thick. But really, adding American cheese to a cream sauce like this, especially something that's going into something as rich as a lasagna, it's gonna add this beautiful silken texture to it. We gotta let this get hot for a second, so you can just sit there if you want, or like get a handful of pretzels, go to the fridge, look at it, realize nothing's changed, not get anything, then come back to the computer. That's what I'd do. Okay, hey, welcome back. So this is getting a little bit thick and creamy, and then in theory, if you're making a cheese sauce, I would add the cheese gradually. That way you don't risk the cheese breaking, the protein separating from the fats, all that. But there's just so many delicious binding chemicals in here. Shout out soy lecithin and guar gum. You can really just take it like a brick and just kind of dump it in there. And then when you stir it around, it'll become a sauce, which is very exciting. I'm as excited by this cheese sauce as I am by that sexy, sexy elf chick from Lord of the Rings. Legoland. We're gonna add a little bit of black pepper to that just to season it up, and then dump in a fair amount of salt. Bechamel loves salt because it's just a lot of fat and cream. And we're gonna let this cool down a little bit because right now it'll just kind of flow over the lasagna. We want it to kind of like really bunch up a little bit. Roomba! So right now we're gonna start constructing our lasagna. So what I like to do is I like to take a layer of both our sauces. Again, no ricotta cheese in here because we're doing Bolognese style, but with our hearts in Sardinia. We're gonna spread out a little bit of this bacon Bolognese. That is looking really fantastic in there. The bacon fat really mixes with all that tomato pulp and just creates this awesome, thick boy sauce. So now we're just gonna be alternating sauces. Get a nice just drizzle drazzle. I love when the creaminess of the bechamel like sort of interacts with the bolognese, and the bechamel, after some of that moisture like leaves the system and gets absorbed by the pasta, it's really going to create this just kind of like nice glue. And so now we got our layer of sauce down. I'm gonna take these lasagna noodles and then we're just gonna start shingling these down. I'm gonna get another layer of noodles. All right, so I'm just gonna do 2 lasagna layers. You don't want too much overlap in the middle because that's gonna like sort of start to build up. So we're gonna get that into the sauce and then gonna add more sauce on top. Yeah, Nicole's waving her hands. No, no, no. And I say, yes, yes, yes. Really spread it out. We wanna go pretty thin on the layers because we want some like real nice defined structure. Nicole, do you have something to say, Miss Sai over there? Yeah, I'm gonna load up this layer with bechamel. And then we're gonna take a bunch of these strips of bacon. We want this to really mimic a Baconator, so we're gonna add just a fair amount of fresh bacon strips right in there. That way you're gonna get some of that, the whole texture of bacon, and then you got the bacon that's really like braised in the sauce. Get a nice long cook on a bacon. There we go, 1 for me, 1 for you. All right, That's what that little green goblin says in Lord of the Rings. He goes, take ring to Mount Doom you must. Little weirdo. As Nicole and I once discussed in our podcast, A Hot Dog's a Sandwich Out, Wednesdays wherever you get your podcasts, in the Infinity Lasagna Paradox episode, lasagna must be at least 3 layers, but I prefer to go at least 4 on this, right? You know, like 1 extra effort, more dollopy. How do I cook anything with the lack of patience that I have? All right, so make sure you're getting all the corners covered. And then I'm gonna take a little bit of, we have a blend of mozzarella and cheddar right here. I'm just gonna put this on that layer. The cheese is just gonna act as a little bit of a glue. We don't want it to be too prominent in there. And more of these, more lasagna noodles. Yeah, nice thick boys. More sauce. Uh-oh, gotta start rationing the sauce now. There we go, there we go. Now we got this. Dump all this here. We got 1 more layer, but I'm just gonna do red sauce on top because we want this to stay as the glue. 1 more layer of lasagna noodles. I'm gonna take the last of that bolognese and I'm gonna spread that all over the top. I wanna make sure you get complete coverage here because this is gonna be like the last line of defense. Much like those big ass elephants. They got like little ghouls on top and they're like, must get the little guy. And then we're gonna take the rest of our cheese and scatter that neatly about. That is lovely. Now we can, for crying out loud, finally put this in the oven. So I'm actually gonna cover this with tin foil. I'm just gonna do that for like the first half an hour, and then for the last 15 minutes, I'm gonna take it out and cook it and broil the cheese. We're trying to get some steam action there. I have my lasagna sheet on a baking pan because lasagna is famous for drippage in Sardinia. So I'll pop it on a sheet pan, nice easy little fix. And we're gonna throw it in there. Yeah. And now you have time to watch the 4th Lord of the Rings movie. This is freaking fantastic. I love a nice, well-browned lasagna. You see, there is just grease coming from every pore of this. I suppose I'm just gonna take a slice out of it right now. V, you like the corner piece or the middle piece?
Middle.
Like directly in the middle? You sociopath, I'm not doing that. I do that with pumpkin pie. I just slurp the filling out of the middle. The first slice of lasagna is always the hardest to get out. I never know how to do it. So I'm just gonna try and on 3 kind of mash it. 1, 2, go, sit! Where are we at? Oh, yes, yes ma'am. Oh, wow. This is fantastic. You see, there's so much of that bechamel that is just like becoming glue and held these pasta layers together. You really smell the cheese that's been infused with the pasta. This is absolutely freaking incredible. I gotta try a bite. First, I gotta try a bite of it now. Thank you. All right, this looks absolutely incredible. It just reeks of bacon in here, and I generally reek of bacon in my life. I'm gonna go in, grab myself a nice big old bite. Oh my God. It's my quintessential lasagna in the sense that the dough is so incredibly tender and all the layers just come like rushing into your mouth at once. You're not like chewing through thick noodle. It really does like blend the cheeseburger experience into the lasagna experience, which is fantastic. And also, if you want to even blend it more, you can take a hamburger bun from your pocket and you can kind of sop up the grease from the pan. It's real greasy. Oh. It's like better than garlic bread. But we all know that feeding family is the fun of the friends. So let's spork V. V, come on down. I almost spit bun, I'm sorry. V, are you as excited about this lasagna as I am about this lasagna?
Yes, I am very excited.
You look hungry. I don't think any of us ate breakfast this morning.
No, I just had, a bagel.
You had a whole bagel? I'm giving you a crispy edge. You said you like crispy edges.
Yes, I didn't, but I'll take it.
I thought you did. Wait, are you ready?
Yeah, I'm ready.
Now?
Yes.
How is it?
Oh my God.
It's good, right?
It's so greasy. But in the best way because the cheese and the bacon like balance it out perfectly. I love it.
Sometimes the greasiest things are the best things. Hey, speaking of greasy things, it's me. I'm back. Thank you so much, V. Thank you so much for being our taste tester. And thank you so much for stopping by the Mythical Kitchen. We got new episodes out every week. We got new episodes of our podcast, A Hot Dog is a Sandwich, out every Wednesday wherever you get your podcasts. Hit us up on Instagram at Mythical Kitchen with hashtag Dreams Become Food. You can talk to V. She's the one who runs it. See you next time. Follow V on Instagram too, at V&A Austin. Get as messy as you want in your own kitchen when you have the Mythical Kitchen Towel, available now at mythical.com.